Hi everyone, my name is Rubida Leon Alvarado Flores, and today I'm going to explain or going to answer some question about the first activity of the assignment called materials design. So let's start with the first question. So what was the conception of materials development decades ago? So according to the reading, I think that decades ago the development of materials focused mainly on resources that served to illustrate methods but did not into account other factors as methodology and teaching resources that could be used for the development of such materials. However, and as discussed in the reading, this has been changing over time as now teachers reflect and are aware a little more about the importance of these elements within the field of teaching and include students to update them because as Gotti says, it is not enough to know, it is not enough to want, we must do it. So that is to say, nowadays these must have as a main function to develop the students' abilities and in their totality, and must be an instrument of formation. So question the second question say, what does developing materials demand from teacher? So as you can see in the image, we have eight demands from teachers. So there are several demands about teachers for the development of materials, among which are the following. So able to see a student as holistic, unique individuals, fond of facilitating learning process about in their frustration, willing to devote time to each with laughter, keen on minimizing difference and maximizing similarities among students, reading to innovate in their teaching practice, willing to take and make teaching decisions, less eager to single out what should not have been done, and Canon presents attempts to perform tasks in different ways. But in this case, I would like to mention just 6 and explain each one of them. So the first that I found in the reading or in the text was reflection. So I think that this is necessary because it allows teachers to develop and become more skilled. So why? Well, this also allows them to evaluate themselves and identify which materials and strategies will be optimal for teaching according to the specific needs of each student. So on the other hand, there are also the preference, motivation, and expectation of the students, which are fundamental at the moment of designing materials, since they can be an important factor that catch their attention and makes them feel more interested in learning, maybe. So on the other hand, it is also necessary for the teacher to take into account other requirements such as the affective needs of the student, Since this will allow the student a better intellectual development and will let him or will let her to measure in knowledge and learn a lot. So there are other domains such as institution policies, which allow guidelines and organization for the implementation of such materials. Since the teacher has the responsibility to create learning environments that are pleasant for a student, because as Toast say in 2001 and Small in 1997, an essential element of success in EFL a an EFL classroom is the possibility that the class is an opportunity to learn and that the students find learning pleasant. So the other questions say, what are the components of creating and adapting didactic learning materials? So as you can see in the image, we have some of them, but I'm going to explain each one of them. So first, needs assessment. So this aspect is fundamental since it is the central determinant for decision making in the creation and adaptation of materials. Since through this evaluation it is possible to achieve meaningful teaching and learning. Since as Nunez and Telles in 2008 state, teacher usually make decisions about the objectives, strategies and materials that will influence their classes, so this should be based on a systematic and well-informed evaluation of the needs. So sorry we have setting goals and objectives. So it allows establishing clarity when designing and implementing materials focusing on the needs of the student. Since it is first necessary to establish objectives in order to achieve the proposed goals. So conceptualizing content, designing a syllabus. So it covers important aspect of the language, such as linguistic components and the development of the language learning. For it design, it is necessary to have knowledge of the process through which the teaching is carried out. For the design of this, is necessary also to take into account factors such as the vision of the language, the learning and the approach of the student, as well the social context factor. So the other, selecting and developing materials and activities. Okay, the material must be adaptable, as you know, to the student, to their needs, skill and expectation that motivate them to learn. So didactic activities, in case of textbooks, these can be incorporated but making adjustment to suit the student. Organization of content and activities. So these are organized in 3 ways. So the building approach process from simple to complex activities. Recycling approach is focused on a learning challenge on different activities of the learnings. Sequencing approach, this is necessary and must be followed linearly within the stipulated time frame. And finally, as you can see in the slide, the matrix. So evaluation. It is focused on discovering in the students if the students are learning. So this should be done on a continuous way to evaluate the knowledge of them, strategies, and learning style, as well as if the purpose stipulated at the beginning of the course are to be achieved. Resources and contrines. So it is necessary for teacher to adapt to the different elements of resources that are within the reach of the elaboration of material. Being resourceful in the absence of these, as stated by Graves in 1997, who affirms that teachers must be resourceful in the absence of physical and technological resources. So, okay, this is another question, a personal question that say about my opinion. So, what is the principal role of the teacher when designing language learning materials? So, I consider that the role of teacher when designing materials for language teaching is to be a facilitator maybe in the learning process, creating a clear conceptualization of the designed material and therefore a subsequent implementation. The teacher plays the role of developer in this case in terms of language and communication skills of the student. So this is the bibliographic reference about the reading. So thank you so much. That's all.